Cincinnati, and we've had a little break between the last video because we've been busy with Empty Bowls Throw-a-thon, helping out the Empty Bowls of Cincinnati charity event. And we've also had some crazy events in here. The Fire Fusion event with flame dancers and African drum groups and all kinds of stuff. So we've been trying to get the studio back in order after that and getting our classes started. So as you can see here, jstein, who you've seen some of his videos, he is running the mini gamma class. So this is actually a little wood kiln that you can take home and fire over a weekend. It takes just a few hours to get to cone 10 with charcoal and hair dryers. Pretty cool. And then we also have a wheel 3 class dealing with pouring vessels. So that's what these are, just the first week of that class getting going. So if I remember correctly, we left off with plate, and we talked about the throwing of a plate, and now we need to go over the trimming of a plate. So we'll go over those basic trimming techniques now, so come along with me. Now this is the plate that we threw in the last video, and before I put it on the wheel to center it, I need to make sure that it's the proper dryness. So we're looking for leather hard, alright, and that is where it's still soft enough that I can peel this clay off easily, but it's dry enough that it won't lose its shape, especially when I'm setting it on its rim on the bat. So go ahead and make sure that it's that right leather hard stage. It hasn't started the color change quite yet, and go ahead and feel it on both sides to make sure that you kind of have a good idea of how thick it is in the middle all the way out to the edge. That'll just help you so you don't trim through as many of these. Alright? When you center a leather hard plate on the wheel, you want to make sure that you're centering the top, what you're going to trim. So many people actually center the rim, and as you know, every pot's going to be a little different, and sometimes that rim might be a little bit off center. You might have actually thrown that off center on purpose to get a little bit more of an organic line. So make sure that you are centering right where you're going to trim. I usually steady my hand on the splash pan, watch as that plate comes toward my finger and then away from it, and stop at the closest point to my finger. Then I push away. I'll do that again. And I'll take my time on this, because as long as this is done right, the trimming goes pretty smoothly. But as soon as you're off even a few centimeters, it causes all kinds of problems. So take your time with the centering. Then we're going to get some soft clay and roll it into some lugs, and I'll put them on both sides of the plate, press onto the bat first, then ease it onto the plate rim. That helps so you don't crack the plate rim and it gets a good stick on the bat. And I'll rotate it and do the same thing on the exposed sides. And now I have a pretty sturdy plate to work with. I'm going to be using two different trimming tools. This one right here is the KSP1. We have this for sale on the web store. It's more for fine trimming, you know, on the edges. When you get to large spaces like this, the LT5 trimming tool is a great one to use. These are fun to kind of mix back and forth with, because depending on what spots, what little nooks you need to get into, these different edges help you out a whole lot. So I'll start with this one here, and the key to trimming is steady hands. I'm going to get close to the wheel, keep my elbows tight to my body, and I hold the trimming tool right at the head where I'm cutting. Alright, I want to make sure that I have a lot of control over that head right there. I'll also lay my left hand on the surface of the plate so that I can catch wind to any little movement that goes on that I don't want. Alright, so now that I'm in position, elbows tight, I'm going to go ahead and just clean this outside surface. Put a decent amount of pressure on there and just clean that up so that I get a clear line between the wall of the plate and the floor of the plate. Once I get that done, I'm going to get a little bit more aggressive and press in with that trimming tool to get more of a straight up and down foot on the bottom there. And then I'll smooth that sharp edge that I just created. So now I have more of a pedestal foot sitting up on that plate. The next step is to take the corner of this trimming tool and just make a mark right out on that outside edge there so that you can see where you want the foot to be. Now with this one, that's a little bit wide for this foot, so I'm going to bring the line a little bit closer to that outside edge. And I like the look of that a little bit better, so I'm going to stick with that. Now my job is to trim all this clay out from in the center. So I will take the round part of this trimming tool and make a divot in the center. And I'm going to take everything out so that it's this depth right here that I just set. I'm going to keep peeling until everything is level with that. And the last thing I might do is take a little bit extra off of this area close to the foot, because if I flip the plate over, it does slope slightly like this. So when you flip it on the opposite side, it should slope slightly this way. Alright, so the walls are nice and even. So now I'm going to switch, because I'm working with a larger surface, and peel off more clay at once using this larger trimming tool. I'll start in the middle, again fingers right on the head of that trimming tool, and slowly work my way out to that foot. It's a similar movement to when you are compressing the bottom of a pot with your fingers. And I want you to ease into this, alright? Take a few passes where you just have soft pressure like this until you get used to how much that trimming tool is peeling away. Then once you get used to it, you can put a little bit more pressure and really pull that clay off quickly. And I would suggest not trimming, 10, 15 plates in a row, because of the markings these trimming tools make. It's very easy to get vertigo, fall off your stool. Alright, so I've brought it down to that level. I've got a nice tall foot here. I'm going to use the end of this trimming tool to clean up this area right by the foot. And with this type of foot, I usually like to make a rounded edge to make it a little bit softer, so that when it sits on a wood table, it doesn't scratch. And then I'll use my thumb just to press down and soften those lines. And the last thing I'll do is take the edge of this smaller trimming tool and put one little notch in the side of the plate, right where the foot starts, and that's where my glazing is going to stop. So I have a clean line down there, a raw foot, and then glazing all through this middle section. Alright, so I'll go ahead and get the sign on this, and that's it. Here we are with the finished plate. I've got the foot cleaned up, and I've got my glazing line down there, and pretty happy with the overall result. So remember, when you're working with these, you need to make sure it's the correct dryness, that leather hard stage. You need to make sure and feel the bottom and top of these plates so that you have a good idea of how much trimming you can do before you accidentally trim through the bottom. And then make sure that your hands are very steady and you pick the right tool for the job. So good luck with trimming, and come back and see us again pretty soon here. And remember, as always, if you have any requests or pictures of work that you've been doing after watching the videos, please send them to bclark@funkefiredarts.com, and have a great day.